I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 138. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Monday, October 30th, and the Bobcats lost homecoming. Oh, man. Tough one for the Cats, 30-13. Good crowd came out, 22,000 and change, 22,300 and some odd showed up. But the offense didn't show up, at least not in the second half. It was a tale, once again, of inconsistent halves for Texas State football. I've seen that happen a lot this season. We saw it on display with just 3 points in the second half. Troy ran away with it. It was just Bobcats had the lead at the half, 10-7. That lead was quickly evaporated, but we'll get to that. Before we get there, this episode is brought to you by TGC, the Galindo Collective, TGC LLC at thegalindocollective.com. It's Galindo, galindocollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter at TGC_LLC, or on X, I guess I should say, and on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to Rick Galindo, true Texas State sicko, a Texas State grad. He's been with us all season and beyond. Thank you very much to him. But contact them again at thegalindocollective.com. We are also brought to you by Balcones Roofing and Remodeling, the most experienced F-Wave roofing contractor in Central Texas. F-Wave is a highly impact-resistant, lifetime shingle with stunning designer curb appeal. It is the only roofing product on the market with an exclusive hail warranty. I know all of you around here are seeing how this weather is starting to take a turn. That hail is going to come, and you're going to want to be protected with that F-Wave. You don't have to deal with all the insurance when the hail hits and you have to redo your roof. You don't have to worry about people getting on your roof every few years. You can set it and forget it for a little while. But shout out to my guy Carl Larson over there at Balcones Roofing and Remodeling, a new sicko, converted Gamecock. You can find them at balconesroofsaustin.com. You can contact them on 512-937-8805. It's 512-937-8805, and follow them on X at Balcones Roofing. Our next partner, you know who this is, Thaddeus Watkins, San Marcos Edward Jones financial advisor. Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized to you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situation change? When you work with Thaddeus Watkins, your San Marcos Edward Jones financial advisor, he focuses on what's important to you. You'll work together and use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. Contact Thaddeus Watkins at 737-373-8200. That's 737-373-8200, and at edwardjones.com/Thaddeus-Watkins. Follow my guy on X at Big Thad, BIGGTHADD _ former Texas State offensive lineman. Who better to protect your finances than my guy Thaddeus Watkins? Hit him up. We are also sponsored by Austin Patchmaster, one of our earliest sponsors. Got back in the mix partway through this season. Really appreciative of them at austin.patchmaster.com. Is your ceiling or wall cracked? Need that popcorn ceiling removed? Did you punch a hole in your wall after that last loss, especially in that second half? Frustrating. Hit up my guy, Michael Clements, a true Texas State sicko, a Texas State grad himself. They are servicing the greater Austin area, but they can also provide you referrals in the Dallas, Houston areas. But if you're in this area, hit my guy up. He'll come fix up your house, fix up those holes, whatever you need on those walls. Austin Patchmaster's got you. Find them at austin.patchmaster.com, and you can call them at 512-200-3888. It's 512-200-3888. Shout out to my guy, Michael Clements. Really appreciative of him. Quick shout out to Chilsey. A lot of you got some of these koozies that I handed out. Handed these bad boys out at the last game. Hopefully some of you subscribed. Hopefully you're already subscribed. We had a nice little QR code in there for you. Chilsey.com gave those to us and let us hand these out. Also got a nice tumbler right here. They do custom tumblers, custom koozies just like that. If you order 6 or more of these tumblers, this guy right here with whatever logo you want on there, $15 a piece. You got to use the code Bobcats to get that deal. But Chilsey.com, Chillzey. Shout out to Chilsey.com for hooking us up. They can hook you up. Get on there and help out a Bobcat-owned business. Shout out to my guy Dennis over there. Dennis Redding. Really appreciative of you. That was a lot of fun handing out those koozies. I got some more for this game coming up this week. Georgia Southern. Hope to see some of y'all out there. And then I'll give a quick shout to the merch site. Check it out, WNOGB.com. New Sicko shirts, hats, mugs, sweaters for the cold weather. Here you go. Hold on. Forgot I was zipped up underneath here. There you go. I got the hold. Let me zip it a little more. If you're watching on YouTube channel, YouTube, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, you can see me showing off this Sicko sweater. This is Win Now or Get Bent underneath it. Very comfy sweater. Nice price on it. Get it in time for all this cold weather. And zip it back up. We got to show off the Texas State basketball logo today because basketball's coming up. I wore that as kind of a reminder. But again, WNOGB.com. Go check that out. Let's get to these Bobcats. We'll get to football. Well, there's a lot to talk about with football. Mailbag, obviously, today. Got to do the recap of the game. Check out our cinematic recap if you weren't able to watch the game or you missed the game or you just want to see what happened, what we got to get from it. YouTube, Win Now or Get Bent. On our channel, we have the cinematic recap from the Wizard, Zachary Webb. Appreciative of him for putting that out there. But yeah, we'll get a nice recap here as well before that mailbag. Before we get there, basketball, as I said, next week, season starts for men's and women's. Men are on the road for a bit. First men's game is UTSA on November 17th. Let's get a big showing for that one. I'm going to be there for sure. The women are home on Monday. I think it's Arlington Baptist they're playing. I didn't write that down right here. But they're home Monday night. Basketball, we're back. Excited for some hoops. 6-game winning streak for volleyball as well. They're really starting to hit their stride. Good time for that. A little shaky non-conference. A lot of new players on this team, so I think there was some adjusting to that with Emily DeWalt and Janelle Fitzgerald and some of these other players that won a lot of those conference championships for volleyball. They departed the program, and a lot of new players, freshman players, some really good freshman players though. So they're rolling. We need to talk more about them. Well, I'm very guilty of it. I have neglected the other sports outside of football. I ran into Coach Z at the basketball game, and was talking to her about the upcoming season, and she was telling me how excited she was about football growing, how football is the big one, and we talked about how it has the trickle down when football is rolling. It helps out all the other sports, and that's true, and we'll see if that's true. I mean, I know they're coming off a loss, so some of you are still feeling the effects of that, but this has still been a pretty good season for football all around. They need to still get to that bowl eligibility. Haven't hit that yet, but they are one win away. But we will start talking some of the other sports. I know my guy Zach Webb. He's a seam head. He's the big seam head of the pod for sure. So we're definitely going to get in the mix with a lot more baseball when that's rolling around too. Okay, but let's talk football. Let's switch to football. Bobcats lost 30-13. As I said at the top, they led at halftime, 10-7. And it was looking like my pregame prediction. I said Bobcats were going to win by 3 points. That's what I had. It was a 3-point lead at halftime. So I was feeling okay about it. I wasn't feeling great, just because of some things that transpired. But we'll start from the top with the game. First drive for the Bobcats. Troy wins the toss. They defer. Texas State gets the ball first. They score. 8 plays, 84-yard drive, 28-yard touchdown. Ashton Hawkins looking good. Finley started 5 for 5. His first 4 completions were to Cole Wilson, and they were humming. They needed to start fast, and that was something I talked about before the game. I was like, this is what they need to do. They need a quick start, and then they got a gift from Troy, two turnover on downs, their first 2 drives. So the Bobcats get the ball back. They don't capitalize on either of those turnover on downs. They don't score the rest of the first quarter, and Troy ties it up at the beginning of the second quarter off of the first Finley interception, the one that was in the end zone. Red zone troubles. We'll get there as well. Tied it up at the beginning of the second. Some good defense, I guess, in the second quarter. Bobcats manage a field goal, 10-7. That's where we're at. 21-yard field goal by Mason Shipley with 1:49 left in the half. As I said earlier, Troy deferred, so they got the ball back to start the second half. Scored quickly, took away that Texas State lead. 29-yard pass from Gunnar Watson to Barber. Bobcats countered with a field goal after that, but then they didn't muster anything else the rest of the way. Fumbles, fourth down failures, just not. They really let Troy run away with this in the second half. I mean, 2 more touchdowns and a field goal for Troy. That makes it 31-13. It was the first time it wasn't a very interesting game where you left it and you're like, oh man, the Cats, they were really in that one. They were in it for the first half, and it was interesting there. And then you could really see Troy separate in that game, and they played a better team, and that's really what it came down to. That's when you look at that. When you look at Troy versus Texas State, they had the better athletes on that day. I mean, the defensive line, they played really well. Ishmati had some great yards, although he had a fumble, which was the big thing of it. And some of these flaws that they have, they can get away with when they're playing lesser athletes. They can just execute. But when it's comparable, when it's equal or better than competition, athletic competition, then they suffer. Mainly because turnovers and red zone offense. And it's interesting because even when you look at the ULM game, they won that game, and the turnovers weren't the issue, but the red zone offense, that definitely was. And in the last 2 games for the Bobcats, 13 points last game, 21 the game before, 34 points combined. After this is a team I'm pretty sure they're still averaging more than that. I know they still have the number 1 scoring offense in the Sun Belt. Despite 2 performances where they've put up 13 points and 2 losses, the UTSA loss as well, and 2 games where they haven't even met their average combined in those. But the last 2 games, talking about the offense, red zone trips, they've scored on 5 of 6 red zone trips, which is not bad. They get points on the board, but those 5 scores are all field goals. They haven't had a red zone touchdown the last 2 games, and then 1 interception last week in the red zone. The 5 turnovers, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, pick 6. No, the pick 6 wasn't in the red zone. Now that I'm thinking on it. 1 for 4 on fourth down the last 2 games. 19 for 38 on third down the last 2 games. So that's 25% on fourth down. It's 50% on third down. After what we had seen the first 6 games, where they were going forward a lot on fourth down, and they were putting up more points. And it seems like they've staved off a little bit. Only 4 times they've gone for it on fourth down. They got it 1 time. That's an interesting thing to see because it seems like they've gone more conservative than what we've seen. Don't know what that's about. Don't know why. I know they've settled for those field goals. Like I was saying, the 5 field goals. That doesn't seem like something this offense wants to do. Because Mason Shipley, he's 10 for 10 on his field goals this season. Great job, Mason Shipley, making those field goals. But 5 of those 10 field goals have been the last 2 games. They had that many through the first 6 games. So they've gotten conservative. They've gotten a little timid. And I don't know why. I don't know if that's something they know about their personnel that we don't know that has made them do this. But need to get back to that. And I know some of you will criticize whenever they do go for it on fourth down, saying take points, don't be so risky. But if you look at the examples of this season, going for it on fourth down has paid off for this team. So I don't know. I'm willing to forgive more failures on fourth downs. I don't. It doesn't. I'd like it closer to 50% than that 25%. But the 4 attempts bothers me more than anything. Only 4 times they did it, and there were other times, even that last game, where they could have. And I know I don't want to step on the toes on any of the questions in the mailbag. I try not to read them. I like to give you a good, candid answer, but sometimes I like to get a good idea just so I don't talk about too much in the lead up to it. But I know that is some of the questions, some of those fourth downs they could have gone for that they didn't. And then they settled for field goals. So we saw it really, really, it was on display last game when those 2 field goals, the play stalled at the 4-yard line, the drive stalled at the 4-yard line. And then the next field goal, the drive stalled at the 6-yard line. That's inside the 10. This is a team I would have expected them to go for it there in both of those. I don't know if that would have worked out on either one because, 4th and 4, 4th and goal from the 4 or 4th and goal from the 6. I can't remember if those were in goal in those situations, but I would imagine so. But needing that for a touchdown, it's not easy. It's not a gimme, but I would have thought they would have gone for it. I mean, that goes from they got 6 points, could have been 14 right there. Is that the difference? No, but would have helped. Would have helped. More on offense, talking about passing. Passing was that was the big issue, obviously, with 2 interceptions, only 1 touchdown. And it's something we kind of saw the last 2 games. It just seems like they were missing something in the passing game against ULM and then again against Troy. And I clocked it against ULM, and I was like, I can't put my finger on it. I don't know exactly what it is, but something is different. And the one thing I have noticed, and this was actually pointed out to me when I was talking to somebody pregame, was the way Finley he lives on his back foot. He seems to get timid when the pressure is on and lean back and throw off his back foot when he needs to step in and throw off that front foot. Because he doesn't have the touch. He overthrows. He throws these lofty passes, these balls that are easy to get intercepted. And part of me is like, well, okay, that's not all of it. It's not all just on the back foot. Because another part of the issue is we don't see them expand the wide receiver rotation a whole lot. It's a lot of Hobart, Hawkins, and Wilson, and they're great guys, and they have great chemistry with Finley, but it's them over and over and over again. And I was remembering TJ Finley was a late arrival. He arrived here in the summer. So maybe he doesn't have that chemistry with all the receivers. He obviously has it with Hobart, Hawkins, Wilson, but guys like we saw Bo Corrales get a big catch, 26-yarder, first time he gets out there. Didn't see much of him after that. And I look at Bo Corrales and I see a guy, he's with 6'3". He's got one of the highest verticals on the team at 6'3". He's a big guy, muscular guy. He's 220, 230, around that. It's a big target. That's an easy 50-50 ball waiting to happen. It's higher than 50-50 in favor of Bo Corrales in those situations with his height, vertical size. The biggest knock on Bo Corrales is that he is injury prone, but he's healthy. He's healthy, so play him. They played him, 26-yard catch. Didn't see much of him after that. We saw some other guys as well in this game. Julian Ortega-Jones was getting in there, getting in the mix. I think that was his first 2 catches of the game this game. I didn't make a note of Julian, but I did. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I remember him getting in there. And there's a lot more talented receivers. I mean, Julian Ortega-Jones was one of the best receivers in spring. And I don't know if Finley isn't as comfortable with these receivers because of that chemistry. He doesn't have that long a bunch of practice with those guys and just knowing what they're going to do in a play, knowing, okay, that he's probably going to come back to the ball here. He's going to freewheel it on this route and run to the spot that's open. So I need to look for that spot. He doesn't know their tendencies that well. At least that's my read on it. And maybe that's why some of these guys haven't been brought out there as much, because there are other receivers. And again, Hobart, Hawkins, Wilson, they've done some really good things. We saw the touchdown by Hawkins after he struggled against ULM with those drops. He was able to bounce back. They're really good players. But if you keep going back to the same well, it's going to run dry. And they keep going back to those same wells, and teams understand it. They know that's what's coming. And you gotta change it up. You gotta find that mojo that they had those first 6 games, and give these teams something they haven't seen before, because they've seen of everything that they can do. They keep running these different variations of the same plays, and I understand it. It's hard to install a bunch of new stuff right now, but maybe it's can't change the plays. You change the players. But something has to be done, because it's getting stagnant on offense, which is a shame. It's a really fun offense. It seems like right as we started talking about dubbing them with a name, I say we, me, and brought it up on the pod, dubbing them with a name, naming this offense, they've stalled a little bit, and they got to get back to finding that. The film is out. They know what these teams are doing. Or they know what the Bobcats are doing on offense. It's not about executing. And you can execute. They can know what you're going to do, and you can out execute them if you have the better athletes. And we've seen them do that. We saw 77 points against Jackson State. We've seen them be able to do that. But like I said, if the athletic competition is equal or greater than the Bobcats, that's not going to fly. If they know what to expect, they're going to out execute you. And that's the way it is. Something has to change on offense. They got to find that mojo. And I'm not a football coach, so maybe I don't know. I'm not fully immersed on the motivations of athletes here, or what this team needs, but it needs something. I know that. Malik Hornsby, maybe. I'm not saying bench. You don't have to bench TJ Finley. Manning Award watch list for a reason. I was just talking about it. He's a very draftable quarterback, although some of the flaws that I've seen recently, he's still he can be a draftable quarterback. He's got a lot of technique stuff to clean up on, for sure. I think that's one takeaway from this game, and I don't know if it's necessarily a positive, but it's less likely that GJ Kinney gets poached, and that TJ Finley goes off to the next level when it's not a fully successful season. I mean, that's not much of a positive, because I don't like that for either player, and I don't like that for fans watching this program. But that is something to take away from that, is because when the more is revealed, the more flaws that are exposed, the less likely outside suitors are to come around. Because Finley does need to clean up. He's still got a heck of an arm, powerful arm. I loved what he showed off with his feet as well. Scampered off for a pretty good run. He has fumbled in the pocket before, which, I mean, when the pressure's on you and you're holding the ball like you're going to throw it, a strip sack's they're inevitable. I mean, I highly doubt there's any quarterback that goes a full season without having one of those, But it's still got to hold on to that ball. Fumbles have been a real big issue, even in the running game with these running backs. I don't think there's a running back that they have that hasn't fumbled. So fumbling and turnovers have been a big issue. Turnovers in that red zone offense. And I think, as much as I've talked about, they got to change, they got to do this. They don't have to change their identity. They don't have to necessarily change all the plays either. Or maybe it's not even a full-on change. It's just going back to not being so conservative and going for it on fourth down, because I liked it. And if they fail, they're not going to get a bunch of criticism from me for going for it on fourth down. I don't understand why more teams don't do it. But they need something. I mentioned Bo Corrales. Maybe get him more in the mix with these receivers, with this passing offense. Maybe that's what to just change it up a little bit. Some Langston Anderson. We haven't seen a ton of him. I don't know what's going on injury-wise with that situation. If you remember, he's the Oklahoma State transfer, but again, I was just tapping on their criticism or on their chemistry. I was criticizing that, where because of the late arrival. So I mean, Langston Anderson falls in that category as well as a late arrival. But I don't know, something to a tight end, anything to a tight end. Connor Fox, anything down the middle of the field. Really, like I know they love the space and on the outside of the field, but Finley seems to really have success down the middle. Just get something going down the middle, get some guys. I mentioned, again, I'm going back to him, Bo Corrales, big body, something across the middle. The only knock I have on Bo Corrales, he's been injured a lot. He's healthy. Put him out there. I don't know. It's just how I feel. And I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in the mix at practice. I don't know what these guys know, so there is always that to take into account. But I look at some of these other athletes sitting there, and I'm like, well, okay, the offense, they're moving the ball, but they're not punching it in the end zone. Do something different in the red zone. Throw it to a tight end, throw it to a Bo Corral, get something going. Get Malik Hornsby in there. Remember the success they had in the red zone with Malik Hornsby, 16 yards and out, the Iceman finishing the game off. I would like to see more from Malik because I guess I started to talk about it and I went off on a tangent. I mean, I guess this is how I get this way with losses. But TJ Finley still the starter in my opinion, but maybe more Malik. They have been. I'll give them credit. He caught a pass last week, and there needs to be just more with him. He needs to be more of a passing threat. I think we've brought up the Taysom Hill comparison. I think more of like what's his name? Antoine Randall L. I don't know why that's the old school Steelers reference there, but Antoine Randall L. Some special things like that. There's a lot of things you can get cooking with an athlete like that, and the offense needs it because the offense has been a lot of fun. It's grown stagnant at this point in the season. It can get back to what it was. Tough opponents for the rest of the year. One coming up in Georgia Southern this week. Other beatable opponents. Coastal seems like they're starting to come alive a little bit. But Arkansas State is there. South Alabama is going to be a tough one. But they need another win for bowl eligibility. We're not quite there yet. We all started celebrating a little early, myself included. We got excited. We all got humbled. Big serving of humble pie from Troy. Something they've done plenty of times over the last decade. Is it the ninth win? Ninth win since they've gone Sunbelt. 12th win in a row. I mean, and that's where it is. We've talked about it before on here. Not there yet. Almost. And I don't know. My expectations going into the season, 6-6. And then we started to see some really fun things. A Baylor upset, 77 points from Jackson State. And looking at it, it's like, okay, well, maybe, hey, let's start thinking about some things. Let's start, can they win the Sun Belt West? Can they do this? But those weren't the expectations preseason. They weren't my expectations. They are still exceeding my expectations at this point in the season. That can go away quickly if some of these losses start to pile up, but they are still doing a very good job this season. Even though I have been critical, I'm critical of the offense. I still think this team has done a terrific job. I very much believe in this coaching staff, these players. I think the attendance has been incredible this season as well, which that one you need to put a feather in the cap of the administration. Feather in the cap. Who puts feathers in their caps? What is that saying? Give them a pat on the back. I like that one better. To the administration, Dr. Kelly Dampus, the president, AD, Don Coryell, all of their staff, they've done a good job marketing, getting people to come out, making changes to light shows, changes to the broadcast. It's been a successful season. Even if they don't win the Sun Belt or they don't have a 10-win season, it's a pretty good season for these Bobcats, and they have exceeded expectations, and they can build on those expectations for next year. Because even my knocks are about Finley, like, oh, maybe he can't go pro next year. Oh, he doesn't have that chemistry down with these receivers. If he comes back next year, he has a full offseason to build that chemistry. He has a full offseason to fully envelop himself in the GJ Kinney experience, in the Mac Leftwich experience, and take on this offense. And work on that technique and get off that back foot a little bit more and things like that. But still headed in the right direction. I feel like I had to add that caveat because I'm being critical. It is a loss. You have to be critical. But it is still, I still have good feelings about this program, this team's coaching staff, and where they are headed. That being said, let's talk about the defense. The defense, D-line has played great. I'm actually pretty excited to talk about the defense. Second nationally in TFLs with 72. At full health, that front seven, the defensive lines especially. I wrote front seven, but I'm gonna go with the D line. The D line, they're a menace. They get back there, they do their thing. But the tape is out on that as well. That the Bobcats, they're gonna bring pressure, so you gotta throw it, and that's what teams are doing. I mean, Troy, they went into this game. Troy, that's a running offense, and they passed the ball. They passed it all over the Bobcats. Those DBs are not as deep as the DL. I like the starters. I really like, Josh Eaton got beat a lot. I've been praising Josh Eaton. He got beat quite a bit. I really like Caleb Ford Dement. I think there's just the depth isn't there like it is on the D line. And when you see them at full health and you see the D line rotation, it's pretty. I kind of want to pull up. Sorry if I'm looking something up really fast. I know I didn't have it too far away, but I wanted to look up just some of the defensive box scores, looking at some of these D linemen, because I know they had 9 TFLs and a bunch of other good stuff, and I wanted to talk about them and praise them. Yeah, okay. So it's like 9 TFLs here. Just really great play from this defensive line because we saw a lot of them. That's why I wanted to pull up because I didn't want to forget anybody. Of course, Ben Bell, we saw him with his sacks, 2 sacks for him, 3.5 TFLs. Ben Bell getting in there. We've known what he can do. Terry Webb, talked about him all season. He didn't even start the game at defensive tackle. It was actually Dominic Ratcliffe started there. If you remember, he's the transfer from Louisiana. Last year was a defensive end. When this new coaching staff, he moved inside to defensive tackle. Great game by him. Had a half a TFL and 3 tackles, but he was pushing and moving his guys around and being disruptive. And that was, I'll admit, when a guy moves from defensive end and they're kind of a leaner pass rush type of defensive end, and I hear they're going defensive tackle, I'm like, well, how are they going to eat space? How are they going to get in the gap and separate the defensive or the offensive lineman from the hole? And he's done a terrific job of that. He moves bodies around, which has been great to see. Tavian Coleman, of course, we've got to talk to him. Utah State transfer. Talked to him after the game. He had a sack, big sack on 3rd down, a TFL for him as well. Christian Rory gets in there, eats up a lot of space, doesn't eat up a lot of stats, but he eats up a lot of space. It's a big guy at that defensive tackle. Devin Wright, who was a guy who was like a starter at the beginning, and then they got a lot of these defensive end backs like Jordan Revels was able to get back. He didn't play a ton. Revels, they were rotating a lot of these defensive linemen. But there's just Chance Main. He didn't even play a whole ton either. Like I said, they have a lot of defensive ends, so it's a lot of rotation on this defensive line, and that's good. And when they do that, they're able to get back there and do some damage in the defensive backfield, or in the offensive backfield. But even with that said, even when that's coming, they know that it's man coverage. That it's a lot of times there's a blitz coming, someone's coming on a blitz and they're passing it. So even that needs to change a little bit, move, adapt, or die. There's not a lot of retained from my college classes, but I do remember freshman year anthropology at Texas State. That was something we learned about what beings do. They can either move when things change in their environment. They can either move, adapt, or die. We're mid-season, so nobody's moving. So they either got to adapt or die, and they got to change. They got to adapt to their environment. Their environment has adapted to them, so they have to adapt back on both sides of the ball. Although I do love the identity of the defense of get after the quarterback. You put the quarterback on his back, and they can't throw the ball. I understand it. I appreciate it. But you throw some different looks at him. Did see some prevent defense on some big 3rd downs, and haven't seen a lot of that from them. It's not a good or bad thing, just something I noticed that was one little difference. Maybe it's obviously situational with prevent. But yeah, so in summation, turnovers in red zones on offense, pass defense. Those are the main factors that I look at with this. And it's going to be hard to fix a lot of that. When the things I talk about fixing are like timing with TJ Finley. How do you fix that when you're at this point in the season? How do you get that down? Or technique? The back foot thing, I think that's something he can fix if you watch some film, and I know he's big on film, and I'm sure this is something they've noticed as well. That can be changed. The timing thing, that's going to take off-season stuff to really get that down. Or maybe it takes more in-game play and more practice. I think most of that is off-season, and I think when I talk about the depth of the defensive backs, that's definitely off-season. This isn't the NFL where you can go sign some free agents or anything. I mean, we talk about how close it is to free agency with the transfer portal, but you still got to wait. You got to wait. You can't add guys mid-season. You can add them fall camp. Can't add them mid-season. So I think that's going to be in recruiting, and we see that 4 commits already for the defensive backfield. With all of them high school commits, we just saw Carson Williams for the Westfield corner. He decommitted, but they still have 4 there. So that's something they realize. They got to get more DBs. They need more DB depth for sure. So they have a lot of D-line depth. It's fun when they're at full health. They can get it. But yeah, so mailbag. Let's do the mailbag. Hopefully that wasn't too negative. I wasn't trying to be overly negative. But the flaws revealed themselves, and it was a matter of time. It's inevitable. There's no perfect program, perfect team. Still having a lot of fun covering this program. All right, let's get to this mailbag though. Shout out to my guy Robert Garcia. I got you a koozie. It was the one guy, me and the Wizard, Zach Webb, where we were like, okay, let's get one to Robert. We got to get one to Robert. And then, a lot of fans there, so we didn't have a ton of great reception, but I got to get one to Robert, a true sicko. He started this mailbag off by messaging me a question. But he said, what are your thoughts for the rest of the season? I know it was going to be a battle with Troy's defense, but 13 points and 4 turnovers is bad. It is. Defense held its own, holding one of the best backs in the nation to 43 yards and 2.4 yards per carry, but offense needs to get back on track. Great point. Thank you for that. I forgot to even talk about how Kamani Vidal was held. He was held under 50 yards. I thought for sure this was going to be the game he gets over 1,000 for the season. And he didn't. He was at like 951 before the game and didn't get there. So that's worth acknowledging for this defensive line as well when talking about the TFLs, all the TFLs they had, the sacks and all of that. I probably harped too much on the how many yards they were able to get passing. I mean, 300 and some odd yards for a team that hasn't really done that a whole lot. Yes, but the offense for the rest of the season, my thoughts on the rest of the season. Let's see. I know the schedule off the top of my head, but I'm just going to pull it up so I have a frame of reference. Georgia Southern at home this weekend. Tough opponent. We just talked about how they're not doing great against the pass. This is a team that loves to pass. So that makes me nervous. Coastal Carolina, weakened this year. Jamie Chadwell, he went off to Liberty. So not the same coaching staff there. It's Tim Beck there, but they still have Grayson McCall. He's a terrific quarterback. And as I said, the pass defense makes me a little nervous. Arkansas State, that's a win. That's a win. I didn't say Georgia Southern and Coastal Carolina are losses. I'm just saying Arkansas State is a win. And then South Alabama in the end of the season, they're really starting to come alive as well. And so the 3 of the 4 are really tough. And, Arkansas State is not a walkover. And I shouldn't say that. It's well known. This is a Wolves Down podcast. So I just have to belittle them any moment I can. But all 4 of those are tough. And they need one to be bowl eligible. It's going to be these changes need to be made. And we'll see it this week with Georgia Southern. Win or lose, we'll see if they try to enact some changes and try and get that back. I think if they want to ignore everything I said but only take one thing away, it's the going forward on 4th down more. I think just getting back to that aggressive, take what the defense gives you, take what you want style. But how do I feel? How do I feel about it? Gosh, I don't know if I'm ready to give a win-loss there because if I'm looking at it now, if I had to do it right now on this day, on Monday, how I'm feeling about it on this cold Monday. I'm looking at 1, Arkansas State, 2 with Coastal. I think Southern and South Al are going to be really, really tough. But the good news is I've been wrong on predictions a lot more, and I haven't fully dove into Georgia Southern yet. I've just kind of seen surface level what they've been doing with Davis Brin, Clay Helton, that coach. It's a really good coach they have. So I'm gonna hold off on that officially. I'm not the most optimistic though, Robert. Yeah. But I'm also not the most pessimistic either, you know? That's the thing, is this team has the talent to do it. It's who's going to show up. Who's going to show up? These inconsistent halves, it's not going to cut it against these teams, because I was talking about it at the beginning a little bit. When they play comparable athletes, that execution thing goes out the window. Because they're gonna execute as well. Got to give them something they haven't seen, where even if they execute, they're in the wrong place. They executed poorly because they didn't know what you were going to do. But I appreciate you, Robert. Again, try not to be too negative here, because it's still a lot of fun this season. Texas State fan at TXSD_fan. That's a pretty good name. It's good that you were able to secure that one. It's got the Sailor Boko as the avatar and everything. Why didn't they call a tush push with less than 1 yard to go on 4th down? 12 minutes left in the game. TJ being 6'7" should be easy. Their aggressive offense hurt them. Yeah, in that situation, that's one where I like when they're aggressive. I don't like a pass, a shotgun even on 4th and 1. They've been burned on the tush push. I think that's probably why they were reluctant to do it again. Tried to do a TJ, didn't work out. You'd think, and the guy falls forward, you know. They do a lot of play action bootleg stuff early, and I haven't seen a lot from TJ. Remember when that was working? He had the touchdown against Baylor on that. That might have been a smarter one to do. But I like the aggression of going for it on 4th down. I get what you're saying, though. You don't like the aggression of the actual play. And I'm with you there. Didn't like that play either. Maybe bring back the tush push. I jokingly said it in the press conference when talking to Caleb Culp, safety. He's 5'11", 200 pounds, benches or squats 500 pounds. You know, you look at Jalen Hurts, how much he squats, and that's a big part of it. He gets that push. Find these guys who squat a lot. Let them take that snap. But I will say they also don't, and this is probably more so their reluctance to it. They don't go under center. They don't. So they haven't practiced it. That exchange from center to quarterback isn't as smooth. It's talk about chemistry, quarterback passing to receiver. There's that chemistry there. On the snap exchange, it's not there. So maybe they're afraid of something going wrong on the exchange like that. I wish they would practice it. I think it's beneficial when teams are able to do both, when you are able to go under center. If it's just in shotgun, they like to be in shotgun because snap the ball, take some steps back, do what you got to, they want to get that ball out quick, but they want the quarterback to be away they want that space so they can't even get it out. So I understand that, but having both and being able to go back and forth and just show them different sets, and maybe that's something they can implement in the offseason. I don't know if it's too late to really do that. But yeah, I haven't seen him go under center a whole lot. So I think that will play into that a little bit more. I'm with you though. Didn't like the play, but I like the aggressiveness going for it on 4th down. There are times you take points, you take field goals, but when you're playing an opponent that is better than you, as Troy is, and I don't know if I'm saying anything that's offensive to the team or anything, but Troy was better. I mean, they won the Sun Belt last year. Brought a lot of those guys back. Gunnar Watson was on that team. Vidal was on that team. A lot of these guys. Reddy Stewart. But good stuff, Texas fan. Appreciate you. Appreciate the question. Using the hashtag WNOGB. Here's my guy, Dylan Domestic, at Dylan_Crane. I got to meet you at a game. I got to meet you, man. I know you go all the time. We got to make it happen if you go this week. Dylan, here's Dylan's question. Why the hell did GJ not use TJ's size or Malik's quickness to run the damn ball on 4th and 1? Yeah, I mean, we did. We just talked about this one. Finley only had to lean over under center to get that first down. Yep. Also, do you think that teams are already catching up with GJ's offense and making the right adjustments? Man, I stepped all over your question, Dylan, and I'm really sorry. I guess the first part I stepped on with the first question. We've litigated that one, but yeah, even putting Malik in there. I'll say this: putting Malik in there on 4th down after he hadn't been in there, then you put him in on 4th down. They know what's going to happen. He's going to run with the ball, or he's going to do a QB read. So they're going to be pretty keen on what's happening with that situation. And I do think they are starting to catch up on the offense. I think they're starting to they do different variations of the same plays. It's not necessarily a knock, but it is getting stagnant because a lot of those plays are good and the plays have worked, but got to give them something different. As I've heard these coaches say, as I've heard GJ Kinney say specifically, the other coaches get paid as well, and they scout, they watch tape, and they've figured it out. You gotta throw something at them they haven't seen. Appreciate you on that one, Dylan. Hope you're well, my guy. This one is from Matthew Gonzalez at Matthew G007. What's up, Matthew? Hope you're well. Seems like a lot of our turnovers happen in the second half. What do you attribute the recent turnovers to the last few games? Better second half adjustments from the other team, fatigue from a fast-paced offense. These interceptions where there was that one, the one in the end zone was kind of tipped. So I will understand that one, although it is, and I was saying it, I was praising TJ Finley for, a knock I heard was him forcing the ball and forcing these turnovers and not throwing the ball away. And then he's done that the last few times we've seen him, especially last game. He forces it and just instead of throwing it away. And GJ Kinney's even said at a press conference that he's got to throw that ball away when realize the play is over. You don't have to make a great play every time. Sometimes you just have to make the smart play, and sometimes the smart play isn't a touchdown or even yards gained. It's just living to play the next down. Because when you throw an interception in the end zone, you don't live to play the next down. It's over. It's done. But throwing the ball away has been pretty big. Getting off that back foot for TJ Finley is going to be big. The chemistry thing I've mentioned with the receivers, I think that's off-season stuff. But he's got to listen to them when they say throw it away. I mean, Kenny said it publicly in a press conference, so I'm sure he's saying to him privately, got to throw it away, got to get rid of it. Don't try and force that touchdown. But yeah, that's where I don't think it's fatigue or even second half adjustments. I don't think it's really much. I didn't see much of adjusting from Troy. I think they were the same salty things they did in the second half they did in the first half on defense. It manifested into more points. Actually, it didn't. It manifested into equal amount of points on the turnovers in the second half. They had I guess now that I'm thinking on it, interception from Finley that led to a touchdown. And then I want to say it was the Mahdi fumble led to another touchdown in the second half. And then a turnover on down led to another touchdown. So there you go, shooting a hole in my theory there, talking about going for it on 4th down. But I think they needed a lot more. It was 4th quarter by the time they didn't get that 4th down, and they were behind by quite a bit. Going for it on 4th down when you're up, that's the move. That's the aggression I like to see. I don't think it's fatigue. I think it's like I was saying with they've seen the plays, they know what to expect. And especially if they see them in the first half, if they see the same ones in the second half, they know what to expect. Like, I'll give you an example when I tell you they know what to expect. With this offense, and I'm a guy with a podcast to cover this team, journalist, if you will. I'm not a scout, football expert. I don't know. I know a lot about ball, but I'm not an expert like coaches. But I notice whenever the Bobcats come out with a running back in the backfield and trips right, 3 receivers, trips bunch right. They're all lined up together to the right. And all 3 receivers are on one side with trips, bunch formation. I know they're going to run the ball. It might be a read, a QB read where the QB is going to take it or he's going to hand it off. But I know it's going to be a run. It's going to be in between the tackles run as well. You like to go outside quite a bit. But on that specific formation, that's what they do. I didn't see that last game, but I have seen it multiple times in other games. And after I see it, I see it come out because you don't see them do that a ton. You know exactly what it's going to be. I see trips, bunch formation to the right. They're running that ball right up the middle, whether it's a handoff or the quarterback's going. And that's just me. And imagine what the other coaches know, what they're picking up on. So gotta do something with that. It's just getting a little predictable. Really, they're good plays. And when you have better athletes, you beat them. But they've seen them. That's the only thing with it. Hope that answered your question, Matthew. Appreciate you jumping in there using the hashtag WNOGB. This one's from Forrest, my guy Forrest. What's up, man? At the F6 on Twitter or X, gosh. Thanks for using the hashtag. Haven't watched much Georgia Southern. On paper, they seem to be much more pass heavy than Troy. It's my assessment as well. While our D played well last night. Why am I having so much trouble reading these questions right now? Here we go. Let's focus and lock in. Finish the second half of this question right here. While our D played well last night, there were still what seemed to be a fair amount of chunk plays through the air. Thoughts on adjustments needed if it's doable. Your take on Georgia Southern, absolutely. It's Clay Helton. Guy loves to throw the ball. Davis Brin, high risk, high reward quarterback. Haven't seen a ton of interceptions from this Texas State defense. Hopefully it's the week that changes somewhat with Davis Brin. But yeah, definitely a pass-happy team. Yeah, the thoughts on the adjustments with the big chunk plays through the air. It is nice, the aggression of the defense. They get after the quarterback. But they know that you're going to try and go after the quarterback. And they're going to throw the ball, and it allows those chunk plays. I don't know. They can either fully commit to this identity and just try to get them every single play, get that quarterback every single play, or they can make some adjustments. They don't like zone coverage. Maybe some adjustments to some zone and not always man, not always blitzing. But I think it's going to be the former. I think it's going to be the first part that I talked about, where they're gonna stick with that identity and they're gonna try and get up to that quarterback, and they want their man coverage DBs to make a play when the ball is thrown. I don't know how doable the adjustment part that I was saying was switching to some zone packages, and they do have some. Maybe we don't notice it every time. But yeah, it's too many plays through the air because teams know what's happening. And that's the case on both sides of the ball. Appreciate you on that one, Forrest. I see you got another one too. You got a few more. Oh man, okay. Let's get all these Forrest questions in. It's funny, I'm skipping over Alonzo to go to a Forrest question. Usually it's Alonzo with a ton of them. While attendance is undoubtedly up year over year, after watching nearly 20 years of Texas State games, seeing a good chunk of fans heading to the exits at the half still concerns me. Thoughts? Yeah, I think that's a byproduct of some of these late games sometimes. As much as we love the light show, we love waiting to let everybody party at the tailgate and show up kind of late. It does get late and people have evening plans and they start to go home. I think that can be a bit of a byproduct. I think you also have to give them a product to want to stay for the second half, although they were winning in the first half of this one. I didn't notice a ton of people leaving. But they, I still like to see them there at the game. They have to, they need a product to keep them there. Because, when they're scoring 77, they can't do that every game. But when they're scoring a lot of points, people stick around. And when you put up 10-7, boring game, it's what's going to happen with casual fans. And it's hard for us to understand that. We're sickos. I call you that all the time. I'm one of you. It's hard to It's hard to understand that mentality when you stick through it through thick and thin when other casuals don't, and that's just the way it is. You're going to get a lot of casuals, but you want those casuals to show up. There's plenty of room on the bandwagon, you know. Just stay the second half. Another one from Forrest here. I think you've touched on it in the past. Our offense needs to score to keep us in the game. 35 points, yeah. Has your estimate of that number changed as the season progressed? Absolutely not. It's still 35. It's absolutely 35. I mean, 35 would have won this game. Have they let anybody get over 35? I'm going to look it up. Let's see, 31 points by Troy, 20 from ULM, 34 from the Ragin' Cajuns, 36 from Southern Miss. There's the exception, but they won that game, 50-36. 24 from Nevada, 34 from Jackson State, 20 from UTSA, 31 from Baylor. There only one time they've let more than 35 points go, and that was in a win. 35 points. 35 points from the offense will win with this defense because they're salty enough to get after the quarterback where they're naturally going to stop like 3 or 4 drives. Teams are not scoring every single drive on this defense. And I think that gets lost when I talk bend, don't break, feast or famine, where it's not really a negative or a positive. It's just a description of what this defense is. And they're not going to allow a ton of points. They're not going to allow teams to score every drive. They're too salty. That D-line's too salty to let that happen. But they're also too aggressive to pitch a shutout. So, yeah, I'm still very much at this team needs 35 points from the offense. They need 5 touchdowns from the offense. And before that seemed easy. Because what's let me look this up. Sorry, I'm looking stuff up while talking. I try to get a lot of the prep done, but then I think of things. There you go. I actually had it really close by. 35.1 points per game for this offense is what they're averaging. Obviously, that dropped after the 13. Still leading the Sun Belt in that category. Let's see, they lead in total yards. Still leading in total yards, the Sun Belt, 484. That's the thing is they even outgained. They outgained Troy. But yeah, absolutely. 35 points is where it is. And I don't necessarily think that's a terrible identity to even say that if this offense scores 40, they're going to win. That's a fun game. If it's 40 to 35, I had fun if that's the score of the game and the Bobcats win. That hasn't changed. That's been my assessment since like week 3. I think I made that note. And a lot of that goes into looking at how this defense did last season as well, the Incarnate Word defense. Looks like we got 2 more from Forrest. Appreciate it, Forrest, bringing the heat. Can you and the Wizard throw together when to cheer loudly versus when to put a muzzle on it? The section I sat in was at its loudest on our failed fourth quarter on 4th and 1. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, see what he's saying. He wants us to throw something on the board to tell fans when to cheer and when to be quiet. We don't control the board, the screen, the jumbotron. But yeah, I'm with you. You see that at stadiums where it's like, get loud here, and they'll do that for the get loud. But there needs to be a get quiet graphic. Hey, let's hush it up. Let's let them hear the snap count. Let them hear a timeout if they need to call one. No, I'm with you. And I'm going to say this: a lot of new fans with the students, a lot of people who are coming back around after the team hadn't been successful. The casuals, if you will. Sorry if you fall into the casual category. Welcome. You can lose the casual title by hanging around more, and you'll become a sicko just like the rest of us. But with the casual fans that come in, you don't have the high fan IQ. Is that a thing people say? You don't have the situational awareness from the fans of when to be really loud and everything. But they'll learn. Keep coming around. And we'll have educated fans. They just, they're new. There's little new kids on the block, whether they're freshmen, where they just hadn't been out there in a while. Forrest, you obviously 5 questions here. You're a real sicko. You can't knock them for not being demented like the rest of us, sick in the head. and knowing how to cheer. That's kind of a silly thing if you look at it from the outside looking in. Here's how you cheer, when to cheer. People just think you cheer, you clap at a good play, you boo at a bad one. It's nuance. There's nuance to it for us, and we understand the nuance, and they'll learn it. It's got to keep coming back around. Let's see. Oh, two more from Forrest. Wow, Forrest, you're bringing it. This one's a comment. Okay, good. We'll read the comment. Oh, feel free to submit comments. I will always read your comment, even if it's mean to me. That might be fun. I know GJ claimed the L in the postgame presser, but I take partial responsibility. My fiance reminded me I wore the wrong shirt last night. My winning game day shirt was in the wash. It hasn't failed me this season. Got to bust it out. We need to see that shirt. Send me a picture of that shirt. But yeah, bust it out. It's on you. Appreciative of GJ always taking responsibility. But it'll say that I got to take responsibility. The guys weren't ready. Let's see. Last one from Forrest here. Now that I want to see a full-time, not that I want to see a full-time QB by committee in maroon and gold. Me either. But at what point does lack of in-game execution get the leash pulled, at least for a series or two, so players can get their head right? Yeah, and I thought we were going to see it more when we saw the first interception, and then Hornsby went out there like way earlier in the season, first interception. Next series, Hornsby was first QB out there. Turns out that was a helmet issue with Finley. Otherwise, we haven't seen much of a short leash, and you'd think you bring in two SEC quarterbacks. You got two of them. There'd be a shorter leash somewhat, not a completely bench TJ Finley, but pull him from the game and let Malik cook and let Finley think about what just transpired. Because we saw him bounce back from pick sixes and in the first three interceptions that he threw this season. Those last two, not much of a bounce back last game. So I'm with you there. Shorter leash, a little bit of a shorter leash in that scenario. But yeah, good stuff for us. Appreciate you submitting all those. Sorry, I read some of them kind of poorly. You ever anybody wearing contacts out there listening? You ever know? You ever have the disposable ones, and when one's going out, it's a little fuzzy. Kind of have that going. It's in the right one right here. That might be the issue. All right, let's scroll back. I scroll back to my guy Alonzo at runner X8 XC8. What's up, my guy? Hope you're well, Alonzo. Who do you think is most likely to least likely be with the Cats next season? What a question. Kenny, Leftwich, Packy, Finley, Hatter. Ooh, that Hatter one. That's a spicy one. You only brought one question this time, Alonzo, but it's a really good one. I like this one. So let's try to understand the first part of it. Who do you think is most likely to least likely be with the Cats next season? So who of those guys, who of Kenny, Leftwich, Packy, Finley, or Hatter won't be on the Bobcats next year? Honestly, the number one guy I have there is Finley. I have Finley. I think Finley, I think he's happy here. I think he's happy in the offense. He's happy with the situation, but he's eligible to go pro. He's also eligible to transfer. He was a grad transfer, so he could leave as soon as the season's over, when that transfer window opens, and he could go somewhere else. If he decides, I really showed that I can put it together at the G5. I don't necessarily have the draft stock that I want. Let me try and take this somewhere else and really get on the map. Who knows? Who knows if that's his thought process? I could see that happening more so than the other guys. I think Kenny, I know that he's probably earned a raise. I think he has. If it was me making the decisions, I would say he has. I would say if you want to keep this guy and give him a competitive salary, then you need to get in there. And I think they will do that. I think, and I don't mean to knock Kenny or anything when I say that now he's got a third loss. They're not going to win the Sun Belt. I don't think the P5s are looking at him as much as when they had their eyebrows raised at the beginning of the season. They're probably starting to settle on it, Not that he's not worthy of that. I definitely think he is. But I think that's just the reality of the situation. I think it's the same with Leftwich, with Packy. It's the same with Kenny. Hatter leaving? I don't see Hatter leaving. I think, it's really hard for quarterbacks to leave without having tape. Because right now, if he were to leave, I highly doubt it would either be lateral as like a G5 program or it'd be a step down to FCS. I don't think without putting much tape out there that he's going to leave. So I don't see Hatter. I don't see Hatter leaving. I think Hatter's pretty happy here as well. I mean, Kenny's gone out of his way to talk about how he's the future often, how he's faster than Malik Hornsby and all these things. So, um, but I think that of those five, that's where I'm leaning is Finley, and it could either be going pro or transferring out. I don't think that's. I hate Texas State. I can't wait to get out of here. But that guy, he's absolutely looking. What is my best move to go pro? Which is his right. Absolutely his right. Take care of himself. Take care of his family. Um, but yeah, that's what I'd say. I think if all five of those guys come back next year, it's going to be you better watch out. We'll put it that way. You better watch out. Because giving Finley an offseason with Kinney and Leftwich and building that chemistry with those receivers would be huge. Because those are some of the problems that we've seen the last couple games. Good stuff, Alonzo. Great question. That was a thinker. I appreciated that. Next up, we have HTX Bobcat. What's up, HTX Bobcat, holding it down in Houston? Sorry about the Astros. Can you believe the Titans in those Oilers uniforms? It's kind of rude. And now they're trying to sue Houston. The Cougars. Cougars need to double down and just wear them every week from now on. Those scoundrels. What was it? Bum Adams, whatever his name was. But anyways, HTX Bobcat's question. What's up? Are we assuming we only need 6 wins for a bowl? Great question. I suppose there's an outside chance we need 7. So let's do a little bit of a going back in history. Boy, I'm over an hour on this pod. Hopefully you're still enjoying it. If you're listening to it, it's the true sicko hours right now. The second hour is the true sicko hour. But let's go back a little bit to 2014. 7-5. Didn't get a bowl game despite finishing 7-5. It was interesting. It was great for a homecoming. This was fun for homecoming. Sitting on press row, and all down press row is Bobcats. Next to me is Colton McWilliams, San Marcos Daily Record editor. Next to him is Ish Johnson from Dave Campbell's. All the way down, just Bobcats all the way down. Ricardo from the San Antonio Express News came down. Of course, student reporters Reese Largent and Maroon and Golden. You got the University Star guys, KTSW guys. It was great seeing a bunch of Bobcats. But one thing Ish and I started talking about was 2014, trying to reminisce on what happened. Why didn't they make a bowl back then? And I remembered that it was 60. There were more bowl eligible teams than bowl games that year. And so the Bobcats, there was like 3 teams that were the odd men out. Bobcats were one of them. It came down to attendance, came down to a lot of things like that. But that was what happened in 2014. And it was we were talking about it, and Ish even looked it up. The catalyst to that was Oklahoma State winning Bedlam and getting that 6th win. That's part of what knocked the Bobcats out of it. So interesting stuff. Interesting to think back on the history of all that. That's why it's a good question for right now, because it was fresh in my memory. Just talk to Ish about that. Jacob, that's who was next to Ish as well. Jacob Rodriguez. I was like, I know I was forgetting somebody. There was a lot. Yeah, Bobcats all up and down press row there. So yeah, and so I guess this year, going back to this year, would they need a 7th win to get? Now there's more bowl games than there were in 2014. I think 6-6 will do it. You want to give it that cushion, get that 7th game for sure. 6-6 with the attendance, with how things have looked, 6-6 will get them there. Still want 7. Still want a cushion, because we've even learned that 7's not even enough of a cushion, and that's why it's a more than fair question, knowing that 7 wasn't even enough at some point. So why would 6 be enough why would we be comfortable enough to assume 6 is enough this year? But it is. I mean, attendance is huge, plays into it huge. And the attendance this year is so much better than it was in 2014. It's a lot better. It's a lot better than any other season. It's up 20% from last year. Attendance this from last year to this year, which is huge. That's a big jump from one year to the next. But great stuff. Great question. This one is from SMTX Manderslander at salamander_God. Is this your first question? That's a great name right there. The Manderslander. Shout out to the blind salamander. The San Marcos blind salamander. Only in San Marcos. In the San Marcos River. Any word on Nash Jones? I think I remember Kenny saying he got that dog in him and might be back before the season end after UTSA. But are there any actual indications he could be back at the end? Also, how do injury red shirts work? If he came back for a bowl game, could he stay? I'll start with the last part first, which isn't how I should go, but I will. The medical red shirt deal, it's usually like the same as a regular red shirt, 4 games. He was injured in the first half against UTSA. So if say the regular season finishes and he becomes healthy, I'm pretty sure he could still play that bowl game and take the medical red shirt. I don't know if they'd want to do that, to play him just for that bowl game, or what the situation is. It is worth noting that he does already have a red shirt from his Incarnate Word days, so he would have to do like the waiver to get the medical red shirt again. But he is a junior, so he does have an extra year of eligibility. He is also a guy that I could see having a lot of pro prospects, and I don't know if you would want to try to take advantage of him this quickly this offseason and move on to the next level, especially coming off a season where he was injured. But that being said, all of that said, he was walking around last game after moving around on one of those cart things where you put your knee on it and you push it with your healthy foot. You push off with your healthy foot, and that's kind of how you move around. He had one of those, not this time, didn't have a boot on it. Seemed like good signs. Look at him. It seems like he's getting healthier. And credit to Trent Scott. He's played really well in his place. He's gained a lot of valuable experience as well after kind of riding the bench, red shirt, and then playing backup his first couple of years. So good experience for Trent Scott. If he does come back, it's going to be the last couple games of the season. Last game, second to last game, somewhere around there. Not fully confident that he will be back. But good stuff, Manderslander. Get back in these mailbags next time. Appreciate that question. This one is from Skydog Social at Skydog Social NFT. NFTs. Hopefully we never wear throwbacks again. I highly doubt the players like it. Oh, it's just a comment. I like it. I love it. What's the record in it though? I don't know if it's great. And 0-2 the last 2 years. Can't remember if they won 3 years ago. I'm too deep into the pod to go look that up. From my guy Skydog Social. NFTs. Still in the mix, huh? Still in the NFT game. Can you make a WNOGB NFT? I don't have much money. I'll give you a retweet on it. How about that? I still don't understand what NFT was. A non-fungible token. I saw him come out and I was just like, don't understand it. Not going to believe in it. And I think that was the right move. It's a pretty easy thing to do in things in life. And you're like, I don't understand this. I don't understand how it works, so I don't understand how it's going to work out. Usually that's the smart take. Things get fads, they get popular, things get popular, and then it fizzles. Anyways, that was NFT talk. Thanks for jumping in, Skydog Social. Oh, I'm clicking on his avatar right now. He's actually got I like it. It's a Doberman pincher wearing an astronaut outfit with a blindfold on and a smile on his face. Well, it's showing his teeth. It's a dog. We like to project our human emotions on dogs, so we see them showing their teeth. Oh, he's smiling when really they're not. They're either cooling down or getting ready to bite you. But that's Skydog. I like Skydog. Oh, he's got another one. Skydog back in the mix. Let's go, Skydog. Thoughts? We seem terrible in the red zone. That's what I was talking about it. I wouldn't say terrible. I would say timid. You know, I would say they settled for field goals and the interceptions in the red zone are terrible. But timid, yeah, timid for sure. Not sure about our stats in the red zone. Last two games, I'm sure you heard it at the beginning. 5 for 6, but those 5 are all field goals. That's what I mean. Timid field goals. Next part of his question, TJ why have a 6'7", 265-pound quarterback who doesn't seem to want to run the ball? Why wasn't he passing on the 4-yard line into a sea of defenders? Just run the ball into the end zone, truck some people. I'm with you. Fall forward. I'm glad you brought that up because I remember thinking that live at the time where he did actually have some real estate in front of him. And he tried to force it when he should have ran it right there. And we saw him. He had a QB run. I can't remember how many yards it was. It was the longest run of the game that game. So you've seen him be able to take off. It is a lot of momentum getting those legs going on that big body. But when it's going, he's going. He's got a good head of steam. But yeah, that one, I'm with you 100%. Probably should have ran it right there. I'm not with you on the terrible in the red zone. I will say timid, need to be better in the red zone. But yeah, that one where he shouldn't have decided to throw that ball because he got tipped again, and then intercepted. And it's what do you mean, a sea of hands. But good stuff, Skydog. Oh, look, here we go. Right underneath him. Shout out to Skydog Social, NFTs. This is from Texan Vet at Cowboy Texan 75. What's up, man? How are you? I see you out there commenting all the time. What's your prediction on the number of wins by the end of the regular season? I'm going with 7 wins over Arkansas State and USA. Nice. But I do think we can win out if we're more disciplined on offense. Winning out is that's a tough one. I think I like where you're at, and when you're saying that if they are more disciplined on offense, because discipline is a big factor in it. But winning out at this point is going to be really tough, especially with some of the stuff that we've seen. But I'm willing to settle with 7. 7 is where I feel safe. I think if they were able to get more, I'm not with you on South Alabama. We're with you with it on Coastal. I think we both agree on Arkansas State, right? Yeah, Arkansas State. But I think they have a better chance against Coastal than South Alabama. Mainly Coastal. I think coach to coach, Kenny's better than Tim Beck. No offense to Tim Beck. I think Kenny's a better coach. Sometimes it does come down to that chess match when it's McCall's a really good quarterback there. But I think 6 they're going to be bowl eligible, guys. Don't need to. I saw there were a couple comments being like, we might not even make a bowl. We might not even be bowl eligible this season. They're going to get. They have to win one of the last 4. 2 of those 4 are at home. They're going to get one. They're going to correct some of this stuff. They're going to make some adjustments. They're going to get some fixes, and they'll get there. Maybe this week against Georgia Southern. I need to dive into Georgia Southern a little more, like I was saying before I fully give my prediction, because the early prediction is I'm not super confident. But that was good stuff. Appreciate you, Texan Vet. Oh, we got another one from Skydog. Why abandon Hornsby in the red zone? With you there. He was automatic from 16 yards out. With you there. Hardly anyone would get a hand on him. OC has been slacking lately. I'm with you on the Hornsby in the red zone part. You know, I talked about it earlier for sure, where he was seemed like inside the 20 he was getting it done, and they went away from that. But there you go. Good stuff from Skydog. Here we go. Castillo 82. What's up? How you doing? At JM Stio on Twitter. My guy over here. I've seen you get in there a lot. Appreciate you being back. With Finley being a redshirt sophomore, does he come back next year? I know he wants to go pro, but he's regressed and making poor decisions. He needs another year as a starter. Totally agree. All of the assessments. I think he wants to go pro. I think he needs to come back because of the flaws that we've seen. Now, he may just be trying to put together 12 games and move on to the next level. Hopefully he's like, man, I can show what I got at pro day. I can do this. So he is my number one guy I'm looking at to leave at the end of the season. I think he should do, I think he should come back. And maybe I'm biased, I'm covering this team, but I think it would be very beneficial for him to put together a better season after an off season with this coaching staff. Appreciate that one. J.M. Castillo _82. What else we got? Okay, we're good there. Sorry, scrolling for questions now. I don't mean for the dead air. Okay, here we go. I answered these, didn't I? Oh yeah, okay. These are the ones I didn't answer. Here we go. My guy Logan at Logan Beast 23. What's up, Logan? Met Logan this season. I didn't even say that. Shout out to my guy Eddie Galvin for giving me some tacos at his tailgate. Met a lot of y'all at tailgates. Jim Rank. I think, Jim, if you're hearing this, you were the first one. You were the first koozie I handed out. It's right after I got out of my car. I saw a guy with this WT gear. Handed it out. He told me he listened to the pod. So shout out to Jim. A lot of other people as well. Carter Lyles, my guy, the Wizards' friend. Got to meet him and his child and his wife. But here we go. Let's go to Logan. At Logan Beast 23. Has our expectations been too high for this team? Should we realistically just been winning for at least one more win this year? I think your expectations, they're not too high. I always have high expectations for this team. Have high demands. Have high standards for this team. I think you mean from like an emotional standpoint, as far as like true expectations, as far as what you wanted. They're exceeding mine, as I've said. In the preseason, I had them at 6 wins. They're 1 win away from that. Them already being at 5 at this point in the season is more than I expected. So I think this team is capable of more than 6 wins. So expecting that is it's not foolhardy. I think from like an emotional standpoint, when you look back at the end of the season, if you see 6 wins, not bad, pretty good. Very good season. Haven't seen that in a long time here. Something to build on. That's the big part. It's something to build on. Because even right now, 5 wins is more than we've seen since 2014. Didn't see Withers get 5 wins. Didn't see Spavital get 5 wins. So it's still something to build on. I will say, I've pushed this thought away in probably the deepest, darkest corner of my brain. But if they lose out and they end the season with 5 wins, after 5-2, halfway through the year, or a little past halfway through the year, you only need 1 more win to be bowl eligible, and they lose out, and it's not bowl eligible, man, that is going to leave a terrible taste in my mouth in the offseason. That would be a huge disappointment. And that would leave a lot of question marks going into the offseason about this staff and about these players, and a lot. It was like, wow, was that a fluke the first half of the season? Because we've seen inconsistent games. Look good one half, look bad the next one, vice versa. I hope that's not the case for the whole season, the inconsistency. So, I think the expectation needs to at least be, don't lose out. That would be devastating. I'll be devastated. I don't know what I'd do. And I will push that thought back to where it was, in the deepest, darkest corner of my brain. But I pulled it out just for that real quick. Now it's gone, because it won't happen, right? Right? Thanks, Logan. Appreciate that question, man. Appreciate you. True sicko. This might be, I think it's the last question. Oh, I have a couple in DMs. I'll get to those. Angry River Cat, at Angry River Cat on Twitter. Hey, Kef. Hey, Angry River Cat. The JSU and ULM games felt like a whole new program from on-field play and environment. Then it felt Then it felt Nevada and Troy felt off and more like Spavital era. What changed between those weekends, and what is the realistic expectations for both basketball teams this year? Whoa, threw a basketball question at the very end. Okay, so let's go back and break it down. He said the JSU, Jackson State, and ULM games felt like a whole new program from on-field play and environment. I don't know about that. The ULM game was 21-20. Jackson State, I get it, the 77-point game. And then it felt Nevada and Troy. Okay, I think I know what happened here. This was supposed to say the JSU and Nevada games felt like a whole new program on the field. But then the ULM Troy games felt more like Spavital era. I think that's where you're going, right? The last two games felt like Spavital era, but those other two home games didn't. What changed between those weekends? The tape was out, like I was saying earlier. Teams knew what to expect. They knew what to expect offensively and defensively from the Bobcats. They got timid in the red zone. They just need to adjust and understand that execution isn't enough. Sometimes you got to have a little trickery in there. Give them something they haven't seen before, something you've been holding back, a player you've been holding back. I don't know, but there needs to be some adjustments because teams are picking up on it. Even teams that shouldn't be competing with Texas State, like ULM, it shouldn't have been a 1-point game. That should have been a beating, and it wasn't. It was a close game because they knew what to expect. They knew what to expect on pass plays, on that pick six. They knew their Bobcats like to pass it to the outside. They don't like to pass it in the middle a lot. So they hung out right there. But yeah, I think that's been the biggest change. Has been as time has progressed, more tape has come out, and teams have watched that tape and taken advantage of the flaws that they saw. In basketball prediction, women's, give me the repeat. Let's go out and do it again. Men's, there's a lot of guys lost. Mason Harrell specifically is the big guy. It's going to be hard to supplement that. I don't think TJ is too good a coach to ever have this program towards the bottom of the Sun Belt standings. So I'm going to say like middle of the pack, somewhere around there. But basketball need to definitely jump into, talk more hoops, talk about some of these new players. We spent some of the offseason talking about it, especially when they were signing some of these recruits, because they added a lot. We'll talk more about them going forward a little more. But yeah, let's see what else we got. Let me see this guy. I know I have some DMs. Checking the DMs real fast. Here we go. Raymond McCumber. I always miss your DM questions. I knew it. I wasn't going to do it this time. Question for the pod. For the exception of maybe the UTSA game, we have won the box score every time. What's killing us are either not executing offensively, like overthrown passes or drop balls in big moments, and or turnovers. What are your thoughts on the season so far? Honestly, I think we can go 8-4, which is very solid. The sky is not falling. No, the sky is definitely not falling. I don't think the sky is falling at all. Let me go back to this. Okay, so it's about winning the box score. I kind of did go over a lot of these thoughts before. I don't really want to fully repeat myself on it, but it's like they can win, they can get all these yards, but they don't get more points. And that's when I look at the red zone, like I was talking about, 5 for 6 the last 2 games, 5 field goals, 1 interception. Those field goals need to be more touchdowns. 1 for 4 on 4th down. That needs to be higher. You can't expect them to go 100% or even close to it on 4th down every time. They're gonna mess up. They're gonna miss on 4th down sometimes. But I like what keeping the drive alive on 4th down gives this team. But yeah, I mean, my biggest assessment, I've said it a lot: adjustments, move, adapt, or die. Can't move, gotta adapt or die. Adapt. That's my thought. Sky is definitely not falling. Love this team. Love where it's going. Having a lot of fun covering this program for sure. But changes, got to make changes. That'll do it. That'll wrap it up. Getting close to an hour and a half. This is a long pod, a post-loss pod. Maybe I harp too much on losses. I've had coaches before tell me that. I get too bent out of shape on losses. But hey, win now or get bent. It's the name of the pod. Win every day in your life. All of you, don't let your emotions get the best of you when the Bobcats lose. Yeah, we're sickos and want them to win and everything. But win now or get bent. That's your life too. That's every day. It's your job. It's your family. It's you win the day. Every day you wake up and you win now. Keep that mentality. So, when there's a loss, got to assess it, got to talk about it, because what went wrong? When I lose in my life, what did I do wrong? What happened? What happened here? How do we get better? How do I change? So maybe that's why I'm so hard on losses. When I lose, you guys come at me. Come harp at me. I'm ready for it. Doesn't happen often. But that'll do it, everybody. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/win-now-or-get-bent. Merch site, WNOGB.com. Hold on, let's do the unzip. Bang. Check out the sweater if you're watching on the YouTube channel. Sicko sweater. It's getting nice and cold. Perfect time for this bad boy. Go check it out, some of the other gear. We need a beanie really bad. I need a win now or get bent beanie. That's one where I'm picky on beanies. I'm picky on hats. Why it took us a while on the hat reveal, beginning of the season. But I'm going to make sure to get the right beanie when we do order those. Check out our YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends. If you got a koozie out there, make sure you scan that barcode and you hit the subscribe button. If you already did that, take that little slip, that little business card, go put it on someone's windshield. I thought about it. I was like, man, I could order like 20,000 of these and just walk around Bobcat Stadium putting them on windshields. Be one of those. I won't do that though. I won't be that annoying. You get a koozie. You get a koozie with the business card. Follow us on Twitter at Win Now or Get Bent. Follow us on Instagram at WNOGB. Thank you to TGC Balcones Roofing and Remodeling, Thaddeus Watkins at Edward Jones, and Austin Patchmaster for sponsoring this pod. Chillsy.com. Go get your custom koozies. Go get your custom tumblers. Chillsy.com. CHILLZEY for them. 15 or more tumblers, or $15 on 6 or more tumblers when you use the code Bobcats at your checkout. And of course, thanks to the Wizard, Zachary Webb. Go check out his recap, the cinematic recap out there. You can hear my narration. It's a loss, but there's still some good stuff in there. He still did a terrific job. And thanks to you for listening. All the questions you submitted, you guys come in, day out. You listen to the pod, win or lose. You still want to hear about the Bobcats. We're always still here, and I'm greatly appreciative of you. Be nothing without you. I'd be shouting out into the void, screaming about the Bobcats losing to nobody. But you're there. You're there to listen. It won't fall on deaf ears, huh? All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you Saturday. No, you know what? We're going to have a preview. I'll see you before Saturday. We'll see you well before Saturday. I'll have a good preview for you. We're going to look at these Georgia Southern Eagles. We need to talk some other sports as well. Like I said, basketball's coming up. Volleyball's rolling. I know baseball just had some fall ball. Soccer wrapped up. Didn't work out for them, but we got lots to talk about coming up. And then recruiting, shoot. Lots of recruiting coming up. But all right, that'll do it till next time, everybody. Thanks for listening. Win now or get bent.